Food Service Equipment Association, the FEA, is the leading organisation for the supply chain of food service equipment. I'm Keith Warren, Chief Executive of the organisation, and we represent just over 190 members within the industry, and that's manufacturers, importers, designers, service companies across all the product groups. I think the biggest challenge in terms of sustainability that's affecting the hospitality sector as a whole is this big issue of the circular economy and what that actually means. And it's bringing that down to the operational level. And of course, it'll mean different things for an operator who's got other pressures on his business as compared to what it would be to an equipment manufacturer who's trying to design equipment that relates to those operator needs. So I think the biggest challenge is the whole of the industry integrating that knowledge and expertise to bring about the solution that's needed. If I just dig a little bit deeper in terms of the equipment side of things, I think the key challenge here is looking at such things as standards for the industry against which it can measure its performance. And we have that performance measure in the form of a label for professional service cabinets. We're about to have it for refrigerated display cabinets, but we don't have it for some of the other critical energy using elements of the kitchen, such as the cooking equipment and warewashing, who also have a part to play in this. So there's a lot the industry will need to do to transition to get to that point where we can provide the operator with perhaps better information to help them make a more informed decision on what they buy and why they buy it. As far as the industry building back better and coming out of where we are at the moment, the key element for the FEA members has been adaptability and how they respond to the changing needs of the customer. Because the whole industry, as we know, was turned on its head overnight, and many FEA members' turnovers dropped by 90% in that first 3 months of the lockdown. Where we are now is a position that they're back at their pre-COVID levels, pretty much, not in every case, but pretty much that level. But it's fair to say it's with a different offering, often with different products and through different channels of supply. And I think that's the big change that's gone on, in that the operators recognize that equipment will give them efficiencies, whether that's in terms of labor, connectivity of appliance, energy saving, use of consumables, and they're looking at different products than they would have been had we not gone through the last 15 months. We're helping members with their sustainability solutions and development programs based around the 3 I's of our service to them, which is about the information that we can deliver, the involvement with the policy making machines, and the influence that will come out of that in making a change for the future. A lot of this work is at policy level. Net zero carbon by 2050 means that we are only 3 kitchens away from that within food service. And I'm sure many on the call will have seen the 5-point plan that we have, which is about tax incentives for the point of manufacturer, about more objective information for kitchen designers to be able to choose perhaps more energy efficient or circular economy efficient products, for the reseller network to get a cash benefit when that product's sold directly into the market, and for operators to have an incentive, perhaps in the form of a business rate reduction for buying more energy efficient equipment. So we see things in the broadest sense of what needs to happen to integrate the supply chain. But of course, what we also need is a program of informed substitution. That's going to mean effectively a proactive recycling for the scheme for the industry. And as much as it's about putting products on the market, it's taking products off the market in a productive circular economy manner that means none of that resource is lost, because we know we've got as much of the Earth's resources out of the ground that we can, and we've got to reuse that almost infinitely now. I know that's not, in the true sense practical, but that's the vision we've got to have. So coming back to the original question, really, how we help our members with that is by providing those links with other operators who may be able to help with that, with elements of the supply chain that can influence those points. But I think the real element is realizing the value at every stage of the process, so that there's a seller and customer relationship, both of whom are winners from the result. Over the years, attitudes certainly have changed the reuse of kitchen equipment. If I go back, several years, it was seen as a linear process: new product, put on the market, used, end of life, scrappage. We've seen through the eco design directive work that's come through within Europe, there's now a repairability feature that's built into product. It was always the case that new products had to have spare parts available for about 10 years. That's been more heavily written into the requirements, recognizing repairability has got an important role to play in the process. But alongside that is the tipping point of what we need to bring new generations of more efficient equipment in to replace that old equipment. So there isn't a one size absolutist solution that fits all of these. And this is really coming back to my other point. It's about realizing the value of the product at that particular stage in its life. And the view of the reuse of equipment, it has an intrinsic value for part of the operator customer chain, because not everybody can go out and buy and afford to buy new equipment. So having good value enhanced second-hand equipment available is certainly part of that overall circular economy. In terms of what we seek to do is the FEA is help to build strategic partnerships, and through our associate member network, and essentially these are companies who provide services back into our full members, and Ramco alongside others is a very good example of that. We look to act as a facilitator to engage and create awareness of what the service is, so that if companies want to take it forward, they can do separately on their own commercial terms outside of what we've done as the introducer. Because we've all got a lot to learn wherever we are, and we've all got to continue to keep learning, and different opportunities will have different values at different times for different companies. So it's just keeping that message there, so that the respective teams can see that opportunity. And as I said earlier, it's realizing the value of that product at that particular stage of its life, so that it's kept to that highest possible level of value, so that reused, repaired or refurbished product can be used appropriately as a second generation of life. Recognizing that what we also need to do is keep that new, more innovative equipment coming through as well, because that challenge of net zero carbon is going to mean quite a lot of change in terms of the utilities use of products, and that's electricity, a transition of gas, possibly from natural gas to hydrogen, reduction in water use. We need that as well as part of this. So it's about finding that balance, and companies using the services as and where it's appropriate. So that we're a facilitator in many senses. I think it's very interesting to look at the issue of what the industry will look like in 10 years' time. And 10 years is a long time. And I think for many of us, we'd be great to be informed and have a position of what the industry might look like in a year's time. But one thing is very interesting to recount. If you look at the last 4 major recessions that we've had in the industry, hospitality has always come out very strongly, but with a different format of offering to us in our consumer lives when we want to eat or drink away from home. And we're seeing that adaptability, aren't we? Because the delivery message that's come through, I think it's fair to say it looks likely that's going to be a more endemic part of what hospitality is going forward. So what that means is a change in the style of kitchens, in the way that they operate. Certainly we've seen in the last year many, certainly in the key group businesses, investing heavily in connected equipment because they see the value that it brings operationally. And there's a little bit of a mantra in the industry of trying to get 20% more output from 20% less space. I think what's happened in the last year, that's probably also with 20% less labor. So where is the more innovative, efficient equipment? How can that work effectively? And how can that connectivity dovetail into our lives? And so that really brings through the next generation of research and development for products to meet those needs of the operator, the challenges and the pains of being an operator, as well as needing to keep down utilities bills and probably also measure their own carbon footprint. Because I think in 10 years' time, I think it's very likely, in the same way that currently everything has a price with a pound sign in front of it, I see carbon as being the currency of the future, and everything we buy anywhere, and this will include food service equipment, will have a carbon value against it too. And that's going to be a driver of helping us get to net zero carbon. It's really only when those bigger issues start to occur that that will happen. So in 10 years' time, whatever the hospitality industry is doing, it will be vibrant, it will have adapted, it will have come back very strongly, but in a different form, but with a carbon agenda underpinning everything that it does, as indeed every business in the country and on the planet will have to do.